Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, guys. I tried to script it. Yeah, I'm still struggling with that for now, so I'm just gonna wing it. Hopefully, you guys like it. It will get better. Just, just give it time. The only constant in life is change, or something like that. I want to share with you guys something that I wrote about 3, 4 years ago. It's a poem called "A Cup of Green Tea." A cup of green tea. Come visit me and let's have a chat over a cup of green tea about life, poetry, love, and why we are hopeless romantics, yet hopeless at romances. You can tell me about your traumas and why you're still fighting, and I'll tell you about my life and why I'm still trying. Maybe, just maybe, by the time we finish our cups of green tea, we'll realize we don't feel alone anymore. All we ever really needed was to find each other. Thank you. And by now, I would have read the poem out for you guys. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I think I am just going to maybe break it down for you guys. I think it's a very straightforward poem, meant to be very uncomplicated. And I also wrote it at a time where someone had told me my poems were too abstract and difficult to understand if they didn't have the specific context. I'll get into that also at a later stage, but then for now, I did try and make the change, and hence, a cup of green tea came to be. And my mental space at the time when I wrote it was that I wanted to be understood. I wanted the comfort of someone else who understood what I was going through and like the struggles that I was experiencing, but I just felt so alone. So at the time, I wrote the poem as my way of crying out and also fantasizing because, like I was kind of just writing what I would hope would happen, and it's a very honest poem in that regard. But yeah, I'll break it down real quick and I'll try and explain it as I go along as well. Yeah, come visit me and let's have a cup of green tea. I like tea. I'm not a coffee person at the moment. Because I don't know, like it's just yeah, I think I initially went down this journey because I wanted to be healthy and hence I just tea. And then apparently tea has around the same amount of caffeine as coffee. You just can't win. Um, but yeah, so I decided to go down the route of tea. And so at the time I was really, really fascinated with green tea. It's amazing. I love it. And I was just imagining in my head, I was like, come sit with me. Come visit me. Come to me. Like, let's meet and let's enjoy a cup of green tea. And while we enjoy the cup of green tea, why don't we, almost as if you're talking to an old friend you haven't seen in a while, like, why don't we catch up? You know, why don't we talk about life, poetry, and love? Like, how's life treating you? Like, do you the poem? Well, what's your favorite poem at the moment? Which poet are you listening to? Oh, have you been reading? Have you heard of Rupi Kaur? For example, she's one of my favorite poets. Um, but like just something casual. I want it to be very warm, casual, and open, and it's not tense. You know what I mean? And I hope that actually comes through in the poem as well. I'm a little bit tense because it's my first time recording one of my poems. So, yeah. But yeah, that was how I initially started, and why we are hopeless romantics, yet hopeless at romances. This one is one of my favorite lines in the poem because it's it's one of those things where like it's very true to myself as a person, very true to my character. And some of my friends that I've spoken to, where it's like we have this, we want to do this and want to do that, we want to do this, want to do that. We imagine this, going to the movie, holding hands, walking down the park, or like there's little inside jokes you might have with your partner, those little cute things that you might have in a relationship. and then somehow still struggle to get into a relationship where those things are there, or where you maintain it, or where you get those things and then you actually manage to like keep the relationship going. Like, that struggle you have where like you have all these fantasies that you want to live out, but oftentimes it's harder to actually bring that into the real world, you know, or find a situation where you can install that in. But yeah, I'm a hopeless romantic. I love the idea of romances. I love the idea of love. I love love. But attaining it, oh, I'm hopeless at attaining it. I can barely I can barely get it. Um and then we have, you can tell me about your traumas and how you're still fighting, and I'll tell you about my life and how I'm still trying. Also, one of my favorite lines right afterwards, because this one is a bit more intimate. It's 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 showing, reflecting my desire to be understood at a much deeper level, where and also my desire to understand somebody else at a deeper level, like where you can confide in me and I can confide in you. Because often at times that's also how you create that line of communication. Like, first of all, you have to make someone else comfortable with communicating with you, and you have to be comfortable enough to communicate with someone else in order for that to be reciprocated. Because you can't just expect someone to be open and then you just shut off everything. Like, it's just that trade-off where there's comfort in telling someone something when they've told you something, like, because then you feel like there's mutual understanding of what this relationship is. um so yeah, so with this one I said, and you can tell me about your traumas and how you're still fighting. Also, another reason why it's my favorite is because you have not given up yet. Like, you still, despite everything that has happened, despite the being misunderstood and feeling the way you feel, being down and all that, you're still fighting. So why? I want to know that, and maybe you can tell me your purpose and why you're still fighting, and maybe that will rub off on me, and I can tell you about my life and why I'm still trying despite all the failures that I've had, and maybe that'll rub off on you, and then we'll share that, and then it could be beautiful. I feel like that's a very beautiful conversation to have. It's like, why are you still why are you still trying? Like, why are you doing the things that you are still doing despite history maybe showing this, despite why are you still trying to strive to be this person when you have failed so many times? Why do you keep trying? Why do you keep falling and getting back up? Like, what is motivating you? Like, people will tell you, when you fall, get back up, whatever, but like, it's not that easy. There needs to be something that motivates you to get back up again. Is it your fear of failure? Is it your the incentive? Like the incentive that you think you will get. Like, why are you still trying? That's something that was very much in my interests, and something that I desire to have a conversation about and share with someone else, and be like, let's share this, and maybe it'll rub off on us, or maybe if it doesn't rub off on us, it's still a very interesting thing to talk about. Humans are very, very interesting. So I was just like, yeah. And then maybe, just maybe, by the time we finish our cups of green tea, we'll realize that we no longer feel alone, that we don't feel alone anymore. All we really ever needed, I'm paraphrasing my own poem, all we ever really needed was to find each other. And then this one, it's a bit of a slight twist, or it becomes a little bit more specific, because throughout the whole poem, it's kind of like ambiguous as to who this person is. It's just maybe a close friend, or maybe, you know what I mean? But then at the end, it narrows down the field of vision a bit more, because now it's, maybe we realize that all we ever really needed was each other. And still, it could still be a very close friend, but I think at the time I leaned more closer to a lover, a partner, where I was like, maybe while we had this conversation, while we shared all these intimate details, and maybe we had this casual chats and we had this laugh and all these things, you know, maybe we realize after all of that that, hey, look, you you are what I've been looking for, or you are what I desire, or whatever the case. You know, like after all of that, maybe everything boils down to us kind of realizing almost by accident that, hey, I enjoy speaking to you. I like being here with you. And maybe this could be something more than just like, maybe this doesn't end with a cup of tea where you go home and I go home and we don't see each other again for a long time. You know, like maybe we might be, I don't want to say meant for each other, but maybe there's something more to this, you know? And maybe we realize that at the end of our cup of green tea, that like, wait, maybe what we've been experiencing, maybe the resolution to all of this is you to me and me to you, you know? Um, but yeah, I think I'll just end that one there. Just to summarize everything, the poem is about how we have, and this is something we have all have experienced, where we all just want to be understood, and we sometimes feel lonely, alone, and isolated, and sometimes we just desire to go out with our friends and have a cup of tea, you know, and maybe throughout that whole process we bump into our partner or whatever the case might be, but we do desire to have a meaningful conversation where someone can listen and understand us, and you can listen to them and understand them, or at least try to. You know, I feel like that's a strong desire that we all have. But you guys can let me know if that's something you have experienced, something that you want to experience, something you have thought about, or whatever the case might be. Leave it in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all those beautiful things. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I had fun. I had a little more fun explaining the poem than I did have like reading it, because I was a bit tense. But I enjoyed this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I've been NK, you've been my audience. Peace.